Things are gonna get crazy in Hunter x Hunter. Right now, the title is pretty literal. The Phantom Troupe are hunting Hisoka, eager to avenge Shalnark and Kartopi and kill the clown once and for all. We're gonna see one hell of a Nen-powered brawl when Hisoka finally crosses paths with the spiders. So what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object? Let's get to it. Set the scene. Chrollo and the spiders have entered the Black Whale with Hisoka as their primary objective. They first came aboard intending to steal Kakeen family treasure, but that's been derailed by their colleagues' deaths. Now, the fun voyage and chance at a big score have been all but forgotten. The spiders have taken this hard, and just like with Uvajin, blood calls for blood. They're set to take down Hisoka, no matter what it takes. Unfortunately for the Phantom Troupe, they made a crucial mistake. They entered through access point 37564. In Japanese, those numbers can be read as Mi na go ro shi, or massacre. Whatever happens next is going to be bloody. We could be seeing a harsh loss for the Meteor City crew as more of them go down trying to fight Hisoka. Pitting yourselves against one of the strongest hunters in the world usually ends very badly. Still, we shouldn't underestimate the spiders. They're united right now, working towards a single purpose. That tends to be when the Phantom Troupe is at its strongest. Numbers and strong coordination are the 2 points that give Chrollo's friends an advantage here. Perhaps they'll cut a bloody swath through the Black Whale on this vengeance quest, a reprise of their winning performance back in Yorknu. That's far from guaranteed, however. They've ultimately split up to look for Hisoka. While they're mostly working in subgroups, the troupe can't bring their full strength to bear against the clown. Machi and Chrollo inadvertently hit upon a significant issue in their earlier conversation around the hunt. Chrollo pointed out that the entire troupe wants Hisoka's head. If they end up competing for the death blow, the teamwork of the Phantom Troupe may suffer for it. As such, we almost certainly won't get a full-on brawl between Hisoka and the remaining spiders. It's much more likely that the card-carrying hunter will face off with one of the subgroups of the Phantom Troupe. The spiders have split into 3 main groups while trying to locate Hisoka. Ideally, they should share his location once they know it and reunite, but in practice, they'll probably try to kill the traitor then and there. So to work out how this fight'll go, we have to look at what group finds Hisoka and how well they'll be able to work together. Do any of them have a real shot here? We'll see. But before we get into that, be sure you're subscribed to the channel, have rung the notification bell, and hit the like button for your regular dose of plot armor. And maybe loan some of that plot armor to the Phantom Troupe, because they're gonna need it. Group 1. Phinks, Feitan, Franklin, and Nobunaga. The largest group of spiders are the most pedestrian when it comes to combat. Most of the Phantom Troupe's heavy hitters have stuck together. All the people who specialize in pure violence are right here. Franklin is hanging back in the dining hall, but he's stuck it out on the lower decks with the other 3. This may be the most dangerous group in a straight-up fight, at least on paper. They not only have numbers on their side, but also a powerful set of Nen abilities. Feitan is a transmuter with a wide ability pool. Franklin is an extremely potent emitter. Meanwhile, Phinks and Nobunaga are both enhancers, fully capable of fighting back-to-back. Seeing Nobunaga on the largest team is interesting. The swordsman might not like it, but he's got experience backing up his fellow spiders, even though his skills are more suited to one-on-one combat. If Hisoka wanted to eliminate the members of this group as efficiently as possible, he'd try to take out Nobunaga before the end to avoid the most challenging individual matchup. But yeah, this is Hisoka we're talking about, so he's absolutely not doing that. He'll probably intentionally save Nobunaga for last, trying to provoke him into providing the most difficult fight possible. We can of course expect some taunting too, pushing Hazma to do all he can to eviscerate his foe. We saw how badly he took the loss of Uvajin. This could get 10 times worse for the samurai. The biggest issue for the Phantom Troupe with this lineup is the lack of clear synergy. The 2 enhancers are great at melee, but Franklin's double machine guns aren't well suited for an environment where you have to worry about hitting allies. Feitan's Rising Sun might be even worse. The last time it was used, the rest of the troupe had to run like hell to avoid the massive explosion. The Phantoms don't worry about civilian casualties, but space is limited on the Black Whale. If they try to unleash this ultimate move in the wrong spot, they could be left with no way to escape. This group might come out ahead if they're able to form a strong plan. Use Franklin to engage Hisoka at range while the remaining 3 hang back to protect him. It's noted that Franklin's Nen bullets have extremely strong penetrative power. They have a shot at doing some significant damage to Hisoka if he's able to use them. The other fighters just have to keep the clown at a decent range, intercepting any attacks on Franklin and letting the big guy keep the fire up. If Feitan can take some damage in the ensuing fight, it would help him get ready for Rising Sun as one final big finisher to bring Hisoka down. Victory or defeat in this matchup will ultimately come down to the environment. Hisoka needs terrain to maneuver through if he's going to take full advantage of Bungee Gum's mobility and find cover from double machine guns. With a sufficiently confined space, say a movie theater, this approach may have a shot. Feitan's umbrella and Phinks' explosive blows should have the force to block any card attack Hisoka makes. Unfortunately, it's unlikely anyone in this group has thought that far ahead. The spiders tend to just do their own thing, each member of the group engaging the enemy as they see fit. Remember, according to Chrollo, each individual member badly wants to be the one to kill Hisoka. They'll all be going for kill shots rather than forming a proper plan to fight the magician as a group. Without a strong attack plan that unites their strengths, this group's disunity all but hands Hisoka an easy win. He's got clear experience taking out multiple opponents alone. And while individually formidable, there's nothing in this group that will prove insurmountable to the magician in a one-on-one fight. But what about someone stronger? Someone who has matched up with Hisoka as an equal partner in the past? Group 2, Illumi and Kalluto Zoldyck. The assassins have a wonderfully direct approach to finding Hisoka, just standing around and waiting for him to come to them. It's hardly what you'd expect from subtle specialists in the art of killing. But really, has the Zoldyck clan ever been subtle? We might think of assassins as stealthy killers, but every member of the Zoldicks who can fight tends toward over-the-top attacks. Silva's massive energy sphere, Zeno's Reign of Dragons, and Kalluto's papercraft are all extremely flashy abilities, even by Nen standards. By comparison, Illumi is capable of extreme subtlety. He's one of the greatest manipulator-type Nen users we've seen, able to transform his body, control his opponent's actions, and create an army of minions for himself. Illumi is extremely skilled at infiltration and trickery, so his complete refusal to do any of that aboard the Black Whale is curious. Is this a sign of respect for his one-time partner in crime? Or has Illumi already set some kind of trap in place for Hisoka? His insistence on not leaving Tier 3 suggests he wants to confront Hisoka there. Openly standing in the outer deck completely undisguised may have simply been an attempt to lure the clown in. Illumi Zoldyck is probably the strongest Phantom Troupe member still standing. Even Hisoka acknowledged him as a powerful threat, rating him at 95 out of 100 in terms of raw Nen. The assassin himself believes he's up for the task of killing his one-time partner, threatening him with a murderous glare at the suggestion Hisoka might kill Kalluto. He's also one of the few people who could replicate a good portion of Chrollo's plan to take down Hisoka, using his pins to create a legion of minions. There's no shortage of candidates on the Black Whale. The ship has a massive civilian crew for the assassin to work with. But he has one key weakness: his arrogance. Illumi is extremely set in his ways, convinced he knows best and has everything under control. He thought he'd figured out the Iluka situation entirely and had Kalluto cornered. He figured that making his brother run away and refrain from fighting head-on would force Kalluto to return home. And both times, Illumi was proven very wrong. The assassin is a skilled combatant, but he's terrible at understanding people. Hisoka knows that. For the matter, the magician knows Illumi in general. They've been working together for a while. If there's any member of the Phantom Troupe that Hisoka absolutely has a plan to fight, it's his one-time partner in crime. It'll be tough for the Zoldyck to do anything that'll really surprise his old friend. The same holds true for Illumi somewhat. He's gotta be pretty familiar with Hisoka too. So these two will be pretty evenly matched. But in isolation, the Zoldyck's tendency to misjudge his enemy suggests Hisoka will have the edge in their conflict. Kalluto may have a significantly better shot at the clown. The younger Zoldyck is largely unknown to both Hisoka and the rest of the Phantom Troupe, having only recently joined the Spiders. His origami is versatile enough to present trouble for Hisoka. It's hard for cards or fists to get close enough through the razor-sharp storm of confetti. He also has one of the strongest means of tracking Hisoka down thanks to his paper dolls. His one weakness is his inexperience. Kalluto himself notes that he ranks behind the rest of the Phantom Troupe in terms of power. He's still new after all. He's not been out in the world as long as his older brothers. If Kalluto and Illumi can cooperate, their strengths will cover each other's weaknesses. Hisoka would be in real trouble facing both Zoldyck brothers as a united team. Still, given Illumi's controlling nature towards Kalluto and Kalluto's focus on his rogue brother, there's a distance between them. Kalluto likely has some issues with his brother for pushing Kalluto away from the family, even if that wasn't Illumi's plan. A cutting remark from Hisoka about the Iluka hunt could spell the death of the Zoldyck duo's teamwork. Sometimes, words kill more easily than a razor-sharp card. Strength alone isn't enough to give you the edge over Hisoka. But the Phantom Troupe has more than that. There's one squad that has a real shot at taking down the magician, and it includes two members who should be highly vulnerable to him. Group 3, Chrollo, Shizuku, Bonolenov. We haven't seen this group since the Phantom Troupe first assembled aboard the Black Whale. However, they are the only members of the group we know had a plan to deal with Hisoka. Shizuku and Bonolenov discussed as much with Chrollo. If anyone has a shot at taking out the man with cards, it's this unlikely trio. Shizuku in particular is in a curious position for this matchup. On the one hand, she's the weakest member of the troupe when it comes to facing Hisoka one-on-one. She's outright admitted that his abilities will be tough for her to deal with. Part of this comes from her focus on conjuration, limiting her abilities in enhancement or emission. More so, however, it's the particular nature of Shizuku's Nen ability. Blinky is unable to vacuum up anything made of Nen. It won't target anything that's alive, and Nen is the energy of life. This makes Shizuku downright useless against bungee gum, and a humble texture surprise would be like armor for Hisoka. She's almost incapable of attacking him directly, short of just hitting him over the head with her vacuum, and that won't do much. However, Blinky is one of the few options the Phantom Troupe have to permanently kill Hisoka with a single attack. Shizuku's already shown us her ability to use the vacuum to remove all the blood from a target's body. Hisoka's bungee gum-powered resurrection was based on restarting his vital processes through stimulating his heart and lungs. Complete exsanguination would render that power useless. There's no blood to flow, nothing to carry the air around Hisoka's body. Any member of the troupe could kill Hisoka in theory. Incapacitating him and severing his head would work. But that's far from easy to accomplish in the heat of battle. If her fellow spiders can provide the right setup, Shizuku can deliver the quickest and most reliable death blow of the group. Even if she ends the drain prematurely, draining most of Hisoka's blood would help weaken him for another member's final blow. Bonolenov could be the key to that. Phantom number 10 has a tendency to fade into the background. We still don't know why he joined the troupe in the first place. However, his combat abilities are both strong and versatile. It seems clear we haven't seen the full extent of his Cantabile abilities. Each one is linked to a different song. Jupiter alone is a strong ability, though its blunt force nature renders it vulnerable to a bungee gum-based redirection. Bonolenov may go straight to a different attack in a fight with Hisoka, likely one that gives him some range. Getting covered with gum would remove his ability to create music and thus shut down his abilities. His biggest advantage, however, may be his choice of partner. Unlike Illumi, Bonolenov and Shizuku are both smart enough to understand their own weaknesses. That's why they've decided to work with Chrollo directly during the Hisoka hunt, both agreeing to follow his orders and allow the leader of the group the honor of the final blow. That alone upgrades their odds substantially. These are the one set of combatants we know for a fact have some kind of strategy to fight Hisoka. That inherently gives them the best odds of any subset of spiders right now. And the one forming that plan, of course, is Chrollo himself. The head of the spiders has beaten Hisoka before, but a second victory isn't guaranteed. He can't repeat the same set of tricks he used in Heaven's Arena without using Gallery Fake to replicate his corpse puppets. That limits his ability to make any use of Order Stamp. He can't pull off the same bystander group swarm attack he managed last time. Any follow-up plan from Chrollo would have to be very different. So, what does he still have to work with? Group 3.5, Chrollo's full power set. It's impossible to make a full list of Chrollo's potential abilities, given his mastery as a skill hunter. He's always able to acquire more. We shouldn't be surprised if he has a few new tricks for his next fight. But let's look at what power we know for a fact remains in Chrollo's book that hasn't been written out just yet. That should give us a starting point for whatever he's planning, as well as an idea about how a follow-up one-on-one between Hisoka and the troop leader would go. Paired Destruction was extremely useful as a powerful attack during Chrollo's last bout with Hisoka. The troop leader will likely be looking for a new way to deliver it now that he's running without an easy source of puppets who can simply slam one mark into the other. Still, it gives Chrollo a way to damage Hisoka that doesn't rely on physical strength. It remains an important tool in his arsenal. While he doesn't have the easy source of puppets, Chrollo hasn't lost the ability to use Order Stamp. The power itself is still intact. He simply needs to find a new source of minions. If given time and sufficient resources, Chrollo could unleash another legion of attackers against Hisoka. Order Stamp's demonstrably able to animate hundreds of puppets in a short period of time. He also has the Nenfish. These aren't something he brings out too often. They're vicious creatures and are limited to indoor environments. However, they're devastating in practice, devouring their target and taking the consumed flesh with them when dismissed. He also retains Covert Hands, which will make him troublesome to find in a crowd. Chrollo can turn bystanders into him and make himself look like any bystander he feels like. And while it's easy to forget, Chrollo also has a teleportation ability. He can reposition his enemies without apparent effort. Hisoka has witnessed this in the past, so it won't be a total surprise to the magician, but with a well-chosen bookmark, this could serve as Chrollo's ace in the hole. Taken together, it seems clear that Chrollo will likely adopt a similar defensive strategy to the one he used in Heaven's Arena. Evade Hisoka through Covert Hands, hide in a crowd, and keep him distracted via puppets while he sets up some big attacks. That's going to be where Chrollo has to get creative. It'll be a tough matchup, but with all other things being equal, the troop leader still has the edge here. He's the one member of the spiders that we can be sure has a decent chance of fighting Hisoka alone. Though one of his subordinates seems set to try and do the same thing anyway, and she's got better odds than you might think. Group 4, Machi. What's better to stop the Joker than a wild card? Seriously, Machi is the chaos variable in any of these matchups. She's the one member of the Phantom Troupe who has refused to team up with anyone. The last we saw of her, she was sitting in her room alone with her thoughts. For all we know, she may not even be pursuing the hunt for Hisoka. The clown is extremely intimidating. Perhaps she's still trying to work up the courage to join her friends in looking for him. However, more likely, Machi is simply unwilling to share the kill with the other spiders. It's clear she took Hisoka's return and the deaths of Shalnark and Chrotope extremely personally. She's likely going to try an unorthodox approach to Hisoka hunting. Between her stealth, acrobatics, and nen strings, Machi is the member of the Phantom Troupe best placed to infiltrate the top tiers of the Black Whale. She's going to be the first to search the prince's quarters for signs of Hisoka. If he's moved to the upper decks by that point, she may be the first spider to encounter him. If she does encounter Hisoka early on, Machi is going to be at a serious disadvantage in the fight. She does not have the raw power of someone like Feitan, the breadth of Illumi's abilities, or the mind and versatility of Chrollo. She's out of her league in any kind of one-on-one brawl. Hisoka's proven himself just as fast and likely significantly tougher. We haven't seen her in many fights yet. When faced with an opponent like this, Machi's defeat and death seem all but inevitable. But there's one curious point that we should keep in mind here. These two fought once before, right after Hisoka's resurrection. And more importantly, he willingly let Machi go, even when the magician had rendered her completely helpless. Hisoka is not known for his mercy, and could have easily found another way to deliver his message to the Phantom Troupe. Shalnark and Chrotope's dead bodies would be enough to make his intent clear. Hell, killing Machi would just up the stakes even more for the remaining members of the troupe, driving them to fight with all their fury. So why didn't he take her down here? There's only one reason Hisoka shows mercy: in hope of a better fight to come. He let Gon off the hook during the selection exam with that in mind. Odds are good that he's doing the same thing here. He's likely banking on Machi being able to develop her nen further, eventually growing strong enough to face him on more even terms. There wasn't much about their last encounter that gave that impression, though. Hisoka was able to incapacitate Machi with the very simple use of gum bindings. The ninja didn't have the raw strength to get out of them, but it did make her mad as hell. Hisoka couldn't have done a better job of getting her to grow stronger if he tried. Plus, raw strength has never been Machi's primary value as a combatant. She's more of a ninja, quick, elusive, and deadly. She's a few steps behind Illumi at the moment, lacking the breadth of his manipulator abilities, but with a push, she could absolutely develop into a devastating threat. Hisoka might finally see a real challenge from a member of the Phantom Troupe that doesn't rely on cunning plans, but rather on raw power and technique. But it could be too soon for that. It's not like she's had time for a training arc. We'd sure love to see her pull some kind of crazy thread-based attack. It'd be cool to see a Hunter x Hunter version of 16 Holy Assassin's bullets. But the odds are just as good that Machi goes down trying to avenge her friends, or even that the battle ultimately ends in a stalemate. That's the curious thing about this matchup. It seems unlikely that either the troupe or Hisoka are going down here. They're just too evenly matched at the moment. We could see an upset, an early death for Hisoka, or the Phantom Troupe reduced to a mere 1 or 2 members. More likely, though, the succession game will interrupt the hunt. The Phantom Troupe has already gotten mixed up in it thanks to their involvement with the Mafia families. The eventual battle with Hisoka may be interrupted by the princes and their bodyguards waging their own nen-powered brawl, resulting in a chaotic free-for-all with no one able to follow who is on what side. It'd likely lead to Hisoka and the spiders being separated, either by shipwreck or a teleportation-focused nen ability, denying Chrollo and friends their vengeance yet again. Either way, the fight between the two groups is going to be one for the ages. But what's your take on this? Who do you think could take down Hisoka? Will any of the spiders make it through this arc? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, I've been Jack Stansbury, and have an awesome day!